Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Casting Directors Say What? I'm Dakeem Wiles, and I would like to welcome you to my series again. Each month I spotlight an amazing casting director, big and small, in this industry because a lot of what we do is misunderstood. And I hope that this series can shine a spotlight on all the wonderful and amazing casting directors in this industry that really work tirelessly to bring other people's dreams to life. Now, today we do have a very special guest. I know I say that every month, but this one to me is very special. First, let me just have you introduce yourself. Tell us your name of the company, and what you cast.
Hi, I'm Brooke Thomas, and I have Brooke Thomas Casting. I primarily cast commercials, voiceovers, industrials, those kind of things. A little bit of print here and there, but mostly it's commercials.
But don't be fooled, people. She can do it all right? Brooke, I'm so happy to have you here. Brooke has been a mentor to me, a co-worker, a partner. That's how long we've been together. And I can really say that Brooke is part of this core group of people that really supported me, helped me and trained me and moved me forward in this very difficult career to try and break into. So I just got to say thank you so much for being here, Brooke, because it really means a lot to me.
Well, Dakeem, you're a very special person, and you're an amazing casting director. So a lot of it was you.
Thank you, Brooke. Now, Brooke, I've never asked you this. How'd you get started in casting?
So I was an actor.
Mhm.
And I was living in New York City, and I was waiting tables.
Mhm.
And I was working at a restaurant in Lincoln Center called Fuzi at the time. It's no longer there. I think it's like a Le Pan Quoten now or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. And so I was waiting tables, and it was a lunch shift. And, you don't make that much at a lunch shift. And, I was doing a little bit of, off Broadway here and there, and getting headshots done and trying to get work. And another woman and I were waiting tables, and we both looked at each other, and she was an actress too. And we said, "What are we doing?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this right now for the rest of my life. I don't want to wait tables. Nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for me."
All right.
And I said, "And I don't know if I have the chutzpah, the continued drive to actually go and be an actor. I'm waiting. I wanted other things. I wanted to have a family. I wanted more stability." And so she and I were standing there, and she was like, "Me too." And we were like, "Well, what can we do?" And we both looked at each other, and she said, "Well, what about casting?" And I said, "Oh, that sounds good."
Mhm.
And she said, let's go home, write cover letters, and send them to every casting director in the Ross Reports. And the Ross Reports was like a directory of casting people.
I missed the Ross
The
Report.
Ross Reports. And so we did it. And we both got internships. And I said, I must have sent it to 100 casting directors, and I got an internship. And Peter Kalin, who
Mhm.
was the casting director at Liz Lewis Casting at the time,
Mhm.
called me in, and I had an interview, and I became the intern
Wow.
at Liz Lewis Casting. Mind you, I'm 29 years old, and I'm now an intern, and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to stay there and file headshots. And so that's how I got into it. And then, the assistant at the office was leaving, or she was moving up, and she was becoming an assistant casting director. And I just said to Liz and Peter at the time, I said, I really want that job. I've been putting in a lot of time, and I really want that job. So they hired me as the receptionist. And I got to tell you, it was the best place to start. I met every actor that came through that door. I knew everybody's face. Everybody was nice to me, because actors, as you know, should always be nice to the receptionist.
Yes,
You
always.
never know where that receptionist goes.
Oh, look at what happened to this receptionist.
And so that's how I got involved in casting. And I just moved up and moved up and moved up, and I really love it.
Wow, that's so funny, Brooke, because I started at Liz as an intern too. And it's funny how our stories kind of match up, because I was at a particular age and I think I was almost late 20s or 29. And I was like, what am I doing interning this late? And do people intern this late? But they had me intern. So I was like, well, but I was like you. I was like, well, I want to intern there because I was trying to get acting gigs. I wasn't even thinking about casting. I took a business class and he was like, oh, this is how you can break in. You don't have an agent. And that's what I was doing there. And then I met you guys and I watched you guys work. And then I was just like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I want to be behind the camera. And I really learned so much from you guys. But it's so funny how similar our stories were. And I never even talked to you about it, but you were there when I was coming up too.
I
That's so
know.
but now, so that's how you got started. What's kept you doing it so long?
Well, first of all, I love it. I love actors. I'm an actor. I'm an actor's casting director.
I think that's what makes you a good casting director is you come from a place of being in front of the camera and understanding how to talk and what it's like to be in front of that camera and the support you need behind the camera.
Absolutely, Dakeem. I couldn't agree more. It's nice to have an ally in the room as an actor, and I strive to be that person. I want people to be comfortable, and because when you're comfortable, you do your best work.
Yeah.
And so I stuck with it because I love it for that reason, and I also really love getting actors jobs. There's such a thrill I personally get when I sometimes am able to call the actor and maybe they don't come in through an agent, but it's still exciting to tell the agents too. They get very excited.
Yeah.
But it's such a thrill to call an actor directly and say, you booked it. And just, I know that feeling because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And so when you book a job, it's a big deal. So I love it for that reason too.
And especially when you see like certain actors who you've seen for a while who struggled, sometimes you've had to give them a pep talk and be like, it's okay, don't worry, you've got something, keep at it. And then when they come up to you out of the blue, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and it's like, hey, Dakeem, you got me in my first commercial and now I'm doing this Comedy Central show, but thank you so much. And half the time I don't even remember. And I'm like, wow, well, I'm glad I was able to steer you on that road to success. It is very fulfilling and not in a selfish way either, because we know how hard it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Brooke, I haven't seen you since the pandemic. Like, I remember our last day in studio together, how we were joking around.
We had gloves on. Well, right? I have a picture.
Right, but we didn't even have our mask on. We were like, when I was like, I'm not wearing a mask, but I wear the gloves and stuff. And since then, like the industry has changed so dramatically. And now we're in another like huge transition that I don't know it's gonna look like when we come out of it. Hopefully it's something good. But what do you think? What is your sort of perspective on the current state of just the industry? And what do you think actors should really understand about it today in 2023 in July on this cloudy day in New York?
I think there are pros and cons to what's happened. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say, I'll start with the pros because I always try and spin things from the positive side of life. So the pros are you don't have to travel to audition. Mm-hmm. You
can do a lot of auditions.
Yep. You can do many right from your home. You can do them at any time of the day. They're not on a timed schedule. Mm-hmm. That you can work around your own schedule and you can audition in your own environment. And so I don't know about you, but you're going to be feeling comfortable. You're going to be surrounded by the things you have. It's not a cold studio. It's not a place you're walking into where you don't know what to expect. You know exactly where you are. You're home. You're comfortable. And you can watch your take and you can do it over.
Yeah.
Multiple chances or options or times to do it. You can make yourself a little crazy, honestly, if you do that too much.
But there's a positive to that.
But there is positives to that. The negatives are you don't really get to develop relationships with casting people. You don't really get to know the casting office. They don't really get to know you. Mm-hmm. You don't get to get redirection on the spot. which is such a treat, or not even, it's a treat right now, but it wasn't always a treat. It's something that actors really need. I think they need that redirection. They want that redirection. And so I think those are the cons of it. And I also think like another con is, and I don't know if producers or directors are thinking about this, but who's to say that somebody self-tape, they spent like 5 days on it and had someone coach them, and then they actually get on set and they can't do it on the spot.
Yeah.
So I think there are pros and I think there are cons, but look, this is where we are, so we have to make the best of it. And I think people have risen up to it by perfecting their home studios, really getting good lighting and good sound, and trying to be as professional as possible.
And you really sort of learn too just how important it is to be in the room and get that feedback, because I tell actors a lot of the redirection that I give you, it comes from being in the room with you, seeing you do something that you didn't even realize you were doing, but because we have the information that the clients are looking for, and that little spark. Brooke, I tell so many stories of how we've been in studio and somebody's done something that they don't even think is important, and then you and I are blown away from it. It was like that commercial that we did that felt like it was an actual movie, and there was a script, and they had to memorize it, and there was like one guy talking, and it was a business meeting, right? And I remember this one kid came in. I always tell this story because I remember it, where he was talking and playing to the camera, but he just did one thing where he actually just turned and addressed one person that could have been sitting there and then brought it back to the camera. And he was already real and grounded. And that just really sort of solidified his natural ability and the environment. And when he walked out of the room, both you and I were like, oh my God, he was amazing. And that little thing that he did, just that little bit of detail, just grounded it and made it even more relatable. Now, the funny thing was he ended up not booking it. And I remember you and I were like, they didn't like it. But that's just how it goes. But it really is important. You find so much out about a talent when you're actually in there and working with them.
It's very true. I agree with you. I miss it.
Yeah. Although I do, like you said, I do like the convenience of, right after the session is over, I don't have to get on a hot train or, deal with traffic and none of that stuff.
Right.
But that in-person stuff is really important, Now, but I want to get back to casting. What's one misunderstanding about what we do that kind of drives you crazy? Because I know there was a lot of stuff going on earlier this summer that I was hearing, and people were like, oh, I know casting directors don't watch all the takes and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but what's one thing that about what we do every day that people just don't get because they don't do it every day?
Right. I think that it's a misconception that we decide who gets the job.
Yeah.
We don't decide who gets the job, but a lot of actors think we do. And so that's a little bit of a misconception that annoys me. I hate the term casting agent. I just don't.
Oh my God, that drives me crazy.
I'm sure you've heard that from everyone.
I was in a class and I was like, that doesn't exist. I don't represent other casting directors. Stop using that term.
Right. It's annoying. That's a little bit of a pet peeve. And I think it's also a misconception on actors' parts that we don't send all the tapes. We do. I mean, I send everything. Unless someone's like exposing themselves or doing something bad on tape. Right. But I think if I don't think it's good, I still send it because it's subjective. I might not think it's good, but it might be exactly what the director is looking for. So
like the guy that we loved at that audition, and we were like, he didn't get a call back.
Right. And so I send everything. And I look at everything, especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now, because I have to look through absolutely everything, because some people, when you send out a casting and ask them to self-tape, they just send send in clips of past work that they've done. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? You didn't do the audition. And imagine if I didn't look and I just added it, that would be horrible.
Yeah,
So
and it would look bad on your part.
totally. So I watch everything. So that bothers me that people think that we don't care. People think
Yeah.
we
And I try I mean, this might be a selfish way to explain it, but I'm always like, casting directors have to care because it is very important that all of you guys look and do an amazing job. Because if you don't, they're not calling you and saying you actor didn't do a good job. They're calling us and saying that was a horrible casting. We might rethink using you again. So it's in our best interest to get the most amazing performances out of you.
That's exactly right. I
It's
couldn't agree more.
it's like when I'm watching reviews or something, and like the person doing review would be like, oh, the casting, they didn't do a good job of casting. And I'm like, excuse me, we just didn't do the hiring at the end. That goes to the director and the producer. Don't blame us. We
That's
just bring
right.
you the beautiful cakes. You decide which one you want for the wedding.
That's right.
Now, you brought up the fact, Brooke, that it's so hard to get comfortable with casting directors now and knowing office right now. And that's what I try to tell actors that are coming up, that they're in a difficult position right now because networking is so much harder now than it used to be. And going into an office was such an easy sort of don't think about it way of networking. You can audition for a commercial, you get to meet a casting director, you get to know an office, you get to know some of the people in the office. The person who's actually going to watch your take is somebody that gets to see it and stuff. And now we don't have that. So, like, just to talk about networking with you specifically, too, like, how do you like to be contacted? And do you like to be contacted? And when you are contacted, what are some of the things that kind of like get your attention? Because I know you get a ton of emails like I do. And sometimes I'm like, I can't, like, I know you, I just can't read it today. And sometimes I'll delete it, sometimes I'll save it to the side.
Right. Well, I do try and answer emails, especially from people that I know.
Yeah.
But people that I don't know, I'll address that first. So if I don't know you and you are trying to develop a relationship with me or want me to see your work, email is really the only way because that's all we have right now. And I like to look at links to work.
Yeah.
And what really draws me in, and it's not to say that opposite of this doesn't draw me in, but what really does draw me in is comedy.
Yeah.
I really like the funny.
Yeah, me too.
And I'll look on Instagram. I'm actually following some people on Instagram right now that I found on Instagram just because they make me laugh. And so now I follow them and I don't know them. But
as casting directors, we never know what we're going to need or when we're going to need it. So
right. And and I still do, you still meet people socially. I just met a friend of my son's who I never realized when you close your eyes, it sounds like Seth Rogen is talking to you. And what a great voice, right? So now I have a little Seth Rogen guy in my back pocket, which makes me happy. But so back to trying to like develop relationships with casting people. I think email right now for me is the best way. Sending a link of your work and not something that I have to like click on and then click on again and click on something else and click more and download and all that stuff. It has to be really simple. It has to be like click, watch it, done.
Yeah.
And so that's I think is the best way right now.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I was just about to ask you, and to keep it simple too, right? Because we don't always have time to go through some elaborate thing. Like, I make sure your contact number is easy to find, or an email. Show me some quick clips that'll either make me laugh or make me want to pay attention to the scene. Right, a good scene, and then leave it at that.
Yeah, less is more. Less is more. I don't need to see your whole reel.
Yeah.
Send me a part of it that you think is really good.
Yeah.
Send me a clip.
Now, I want to ask you a question that it might be a little controversial, but somebody brought this to my attention. Okay. And it's about that amazing thing called FICOR, right? And there's this new contract, and I hear that FICOR talent could lose their SAG FICOR membership, especially if they're working on non-union jobs at this time. Have you heard anything about that? And what are your thoughts on it? Because it's for me, it's complicated. I feel like, well, that's the whole point of FICOR, so you can work, but
Right.
like, don't let me see you on the picket line standing with the SAG people, and then here you go trying to do something legit. Now, commercials, that's a different contract, so you can sort of play around with that. But what's your thoughts on FICOR? Because people ask me that all the time, and I'm always like, do it, just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I have to say, and it is controversial, and everybody has their own opinions about it. But I will say that, you have to make a living, and you could be standing on a soapbox supporting something and be a homeless person, or you could make a living and support what's going on at the same time. So I'm all for FICOR. It's what you have to do personally for
Not
yourself
everybody can
and for your
afford
family. I mean,
right.
people have families to feed. If this is what you have to do, it's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I would say that, if you don't have to join, if you don't, then don't. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's written into the laws of the union. So clearly, at one point there was nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And I think some people just can't be bound by a union. It's binding, and they can't. People don't work for years because they can't do a non-union job, and there are very good non-union jobs right now.
Yeah.
So I'm a proponent, and I don't think it's anything to be ashamed about. I don't think it's something that you have to hide in the shallows and not be afraid to say anything. I think you do what you have to do.
Right. I say not everybody has the money to join the union or the opportunity to. And like you said, they have to work. You don't have to flaunt it in everybody's face and brag about it and stuff, but do you work, do what you got to do, and keep your mouth shut and move on.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly. Exactly.
Now, Brooke, what advice do you have for anyone who's thinking about getting into this side of the business? Because, you and we interned. There was no school for us. There was no college course. There was nothing. We either you decided to do it or it just fell into your lap like me and was presented that way. Now, I know there are some now courses and stuff, but if I were to just wake up one day, actor or not, and say, I really love the casting side of it, but geez Louise, I don't know where to start or what even to do. What little advice would you have? Just even if it's just start looking here and good luck.
Yeah, that's really hard, right? I didn't
mean,
realize.
I imagine if we try to get into it now. I'm like, I don't know what I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. There's still the opportunity to try and be an assistant because there still are casting people working. So you can still send your stuff to offices and see if you can be an assistant because people are still working. You might have to go to somebody's home because they might be working from home, or you might be doing work remotely for them if possible. I would say that if you're, in college and you're studying acting, definitely take some directing classes. So at least you have some directing background and you're able to do some direction with actors and get a sense of that. You can always go to community theaters in your area and see if they need help with the casting process. The same thing is true in junior theaters, like kids theater, if you want to help with the casting in that area as well. Anything that you can do to start viewing talent and helping to, assign roles and get scripts out and that sort of thing. As far as operating a camera, that's something you're just going to have to learn how to do on your own because there's no more studio camera work.
Yeah, I know. I used to grab my interns because I was like, you're in here, run this camera so you can know how to shoot people and stuff.
Right.
But now that's really gone. And, don't you think it's important too, if you're not coming from the background of an actor like we did, to maybe take an intro to acting class just so you know what it's like just to be that actor and the
Yep.
skills that are involved in that. Because you got to know part of this job, I think, is really understanding how to talk to actors too.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. You have to know how to talk to actors. You have to know how to give direction. You have to not tell them what to do. You have to give them, direction that's action oriented. That's
Right.
not just result oriented. You don't ask for the result. You give them an action so they have something to do. And there are so many good books that you can read too. Like Sanford Meisner has a great book on directing actors, which I really love. And so there are so many great books out there that you can actually read about how to direct actors in a successful way.
Yeah. Now, Brooke, you said you talked about being in this self-tape world that we're in right now. What's one thing about self-tape and virtual castings that you want actors to understand and be prepared for when they go into it?
Yeah. Don't you have to have good lighting. You have to have good lighting, and you have to get rid of all of the riffraff behind you. You can't
You have
have
great lighting, and this is a perfect example of
right
what
here.
I always tell people. Mine, absolutely not. There's way too much stuff
Right,
going on right now.
right.
Yours, perfect example, perfect lighting, no shadows.
Right. It's exactly what you need. And, find a place for it. I don't have a light on me right now. I'm using a daylight. I
Mhm.
don't have a
Oh wow, that's
screen. I'm
great.
just in front of a wall. So just find it. And maybe it's a certain time of day that's good for you to record yourself tapes, you
Mhm.
know? So find that place because it's so important. And also, I would highly suggest that it's a lot of times people want to see a full body.
Yeah,
And that can be really hard.
yeah.
The
I
camera
get so
thing.
many calls. That came out
Oh,
on
you got to move the camera out there. You got to stand up. It's all about. So I would put on something that's figure flattering where people can actually see your figure and pre-record a full body shot. Pre-record a full,
my mind.
right?
Yeah, I
Pre-record a
say
full
that all
body
the
shot.
time.
Yeah, and do a 360, turn to the side so people can see you and get your recorded 360 shot. So then when you submit, you can just submit that with it. And I love those.
Yeah. Me too.
They're
That
great.
creates a whole lot of stress. I tell them all the time, pre-record that. So then that's one less thing you have to think about in addition to lighting, camera angles, plus the script and the direction that you have to read.
Yes, absolutely. You can also pre-record your slate, you
Yeah.
know, because it's just your name and
Yeah.
somebody else if somebody wants more information on that than like your name and your height or your name and your vaccination status. That was a big one for a while.
Yeah.
You can do another one, but you can do a pre-recorded slate as well. That's fine for
Yeah.
me.
And we don't care if the outfit changes from one thing to another. We're not going to be like, oh my God, his slate was in an outfit. Now he's in this. We're all confused. No, we're not.
And don't audition in your car. I
No.
I have seen so many of those. Like it's not, you really have to treat it just like you're heading into a studio. Like you really have to make it look good.
Yeah.
People who are making it look good are the people who are booking the jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Brooke, what should actors understand about their headshots and how we look at them and the part they play in our process?
Okay. So a lot of submissions now are online, right? So
Yep.
it's a casting networks or Actors Access or, breakdown service or whatever you're using. And so, the tighter your headshot is, the more we're going to be able to see it on those self-submission sites. If you have like a 3/4 or a full body, your head's going to be this tiny on the profile page of this web page. So try and keep it, I would say, chest high or even just a real headshot, shoulder high. I think it's a good idea to do that.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and I, headshot advice, just no hands in your headshot and,
Profile, none of these.
none of this. It's just a straight on happy, friendly shot of you for
Yeah,
commercials, for commercials.
yeah. Because that's what we're looking for to gauge, okay, is this person right for this or not? Right?
Right. And if you have great teeth, smile, please. We would
Yes.
like to see those teeth. No, you
How
would
many?
like to do a Crest commercial. Why not?
Exactly.
Right. And if your hair is long, and your headshot has short hair, you get a new headshot. You got to look like your headshot.
Yeah,
No
please.
switch, please. No bait and switch.
No, I can't tell you how many times. Remember when at Liz Lewis when we would do in-person stuff and there was a client in the room and someone would come in and I'd be like, "You don't look like your headshot," and now I have to tell you that in front of everybody, and you're making me uncomfortable.
Oh, I know.
Those are
Bad,
the worst.
very bad.
Brooke, how when you're getting self-tape, Brooks, and you don't tell them how many takes to submit, how many do you normally like to receive?
Well, I do make a point of always saying how many takes I want.
Oh,
I don't
good,
want to see any more than 2 takes.
good. That's what I say too.
Yep. No
Time,
more than 2.
but time is limited. Brooke, I got one more question for you because you've answered so many great questions, but this is a fun one. What is the last film or TV or theater show that you saw that you could recommend to us that you enjoyed? Anything good?
All right. Well,
Part of the Barbenheimer this weekend?
I just saw Barbie last night.
Tell me, how was it?
I have to tell you, I really loved it.
Yeah.
I grew up playing with Barbie. I'm going to give you my 10-4 on Barbie. I grew up playing with Barbie and I loved Barbie. I know a lot of people don't like Barbie, and the movie talks about that.
I love Barbie.
Oh, Barbie's amazing because Barbie felt very empowering to me. Barbie had her own plane. She had a beautiful townhouse. She had a camper. She was a veterinarian. She was a scientist. And they talk about all this in the movie too, right?
Okay.
And how, they created Barbie to be empowering. But, then Barbie became very sexualized and people looked at her, they created her sexualized. She's got the big boobs and, the tiny waist and she's walking on her tiptoes. But, the movie addresses that. And the movie also addresses is the toxic male portion of the world right now. Yeah. But it also addresses, Barbie's pretty rude to Ken because he's, Ken's a little doinky in the movie. He's funny. He's very funny. He's so good. Ryan Gosling is so good. He nails it. I love
him. I heard he's so good.
He's so good. But Barbie actually apologizes to him for not giving him the respect that he needs.
Wow.
And so there were so many different aspects of this movie. So I really loved it. I loved it. I went with my daughter and her friend and my best friend, and then my husband and her husband, and the guys left.
Oh no, they went to see something else.
Really didn't like it.
Well, see, just like casting, everything is subjective.
All subjective.
I could like this, and then you could like. I know some people that didn't like Oppenheimer and loved Barbie, and vice versa. And that's so great about this business too. And I think people that's one thing everybody needs to remember. And also, just because I don't like something, it's not a personal attack on you. It's just where I'm coming from in my life.
I was a little bit afraid to say I like Barbie, and I was like, I'm just going to say it. If you don't like me because I like Barbie, well, I'm sorry.
There's something a little wrong with you then. Brooke, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your casting insight and hopefully helping other casting directors out there who might think about getting into this, and also really helping actors understand a little bit more about this business. I really feel the more you understand about this business, the easier it will be for you to navigate it, because it can be a roller coaster ride for everyone involved. Just because, you think the acting side of it can be a struggle sometimes, it's the same way on our end, because just like everything in this business, jobs have a beginning, middle, and an end. And then at the end, it's time to start over again, finding that new job, just like actors, just like casting directors, producers, and directors. We're all doing this. So I feel like, that's why I'm doing this, to support casting directors, and hopefully in doing so, it's supporting everybody else in this business. So
that's great, Dakeem. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun, and it was so fun to chat with you. And I hope it helps other future casting directors.
Everybody, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Casting Directors Say
What?
Yay! Bye, everybody.
Bye.